Life is not supposed to be easy. If it were, you wouldn't grow. Think about it. Every breakthrough you've ever had, every moment where you became more, came after you faced some kind of pain. Growth lives on the other side of suffering. It doesn't come wrapped in comfort. It doesn't show up when you're relaxed. It shows up when you're tested, stretched, broken down, and forced to rise. Pain is the price of progress. Discomfort is the ticket to greatness. The gym hurts, but that's how the body grows. Discipline burns, but that's how your character is built. Sacrifice stings, but that's how you learn what you're truly capable of. Most people want transformation without tension. They want success without sacrifice. They want strength without struggle, and that's why they never change. They run from pain instead of running through it. They numb it, avoid it, hide from it, when in reality, that very suffering is the key to everything they say they want. The truth is this: you cannot escape suffering. Life is going to hand it to you, whether you choose it or not. But here's the difference. When you choose it, when you embrace it, when you decide to use it, you transform it. Pain becomes power. Struggle becomes strength. Hardship becomes hunger. Think about the seed buried in the dark, breaking open before it can grow into a tree. Think about the butterfly fighting its way out of the cocoon, wings tearing through confinement just to fly. Every level of growth demands a version of you to suffer, to die, so the stronger version can emerge. So when you feel the weight of struggle, don't curse it. Thank it. When you feel resistance, lean into it. When life knocks you down, stop asking, why me? And start declaring, try me, because suffering isn't punishment, it's preparation. It's life shaping you, forging you, sharpening you. You must suffer to grow, but don't suffer aimlessly. Suffer with purpose. Suffer with vision. Suffer with the certainty that the version of you on the other side is unshakable, unstoppable, unbreakable. So the next time pain shows up, and it will, don't run. Don't hide. Stand tall, breathe deep, and remember, this is not here to destroy you. This is here to build you. This is your fire, and you were made to walk through it. Because to grow, you must suffer. Growth lives on the other side of suffering, and the reason is simple. Without challenge, you stay the same. Without resistance, you remain comfortable. And comfort never produces greatness. Imagine lifting weights that are light and easy. Your muscles never break down, so they never grow. The growth happens in the tearing, in the stress, in the recovery that follows pain. Life works the exact same way. Every struggle you face is a weight placed on you, and though it feels heavy, though it makes you strain and sweat, it is building something in you that you could not create in ease. Growth demands suffering because it demands transformation, and transformation is uncomfortable. It is the dismantling of the old and the forging of the new. Think about your greatest moments of change. Did they come when everything was simple, when the world was handing you comfort and certainty? Or did they come when you were pushed, when you were pressed, when you were pressed, when you were forced to dig deeper than you ever thought you could? Human beings are wired to adapt, and adaptation happens only in the presence of resistance. Fire hardens steel. Pressure creates diamond storms deep in the roots of trees. In the same way, your suffering is not a sign that you are weak. It is a sign that you are in the process of growth. It is the universe applying pressure, applying heat, applying tension to draw out a stronger, bolder, wiser version of you, yet most people run from it. They avoid the struggle because it hurts. They hide from pain because it feels unfair. But what they don't realize is that running from suffering is running from their own evolution. They want growth without cost, but nature doesn't work that way. No muscle without resistance, no progress without sacrifice, no breakthrough without breakdown. The truth is, suffering is the doorway to the life you want, and on the other side of it lies the strength, clarity, and power you've been searching for. Think about the seed planted in the soil. From the outside, it looks buried, trapped in darkness. But that confinement, that pressure, that breaking apart of its old form is what allows it to push upward into light, to grow into something far greater than it was before. In the same way, you are not buried by your suffering. You are being planted. You are not being crushed by life's weight. You are being forged into who you are meant to become. The suffering you resist is the very thing carving the capacity inside you to handle more, to be more, to live more. Growth is not polite. It doesn't come gently, and it doesn't wait for permission. It breaks patterns. It shatters comfort zones. It rips apart the version of you that cannot carry the future you desire. That's why it hurts. That's why it feels like loss. That's why it shakes you to your core, because to grow is to let go of who you were, and that is a form of suffering in itself. The habits, the stories, the identities that once kept you safe now feel like chains when you're ready for more, and breaking them off is never painless. But without that suffering, you remain trapped in the old shell, never discovering the wings that are waiting to unfold when people say they want growth. What they are really saying is they want to evolve into a higher version of themselves, and that version cannot emerge without suffering. You can't skip it, you can't cheat it, you can't find a shortcut around it. The discomfort is the process. The struggle is the teacher. The pain is the tool. Growth demands you give something up, and what you give up is comfort. You sacrifice ease in exchange for strength, and in the moment it feels unfair, but in hindsight it feels inevitable. Every scar becomes a story of progress. Every setback becomes a stepping stone. Every suffering becomes proof that you chose to lean into the fire instead of hiding from it. What most people miss is that suffering does not mean misery. It means intensity. It means weight. It means friction. And though it hurts, though it burns, it is never meaningless. The suffering you endure is the rent you pay for the life you desire. It's the price for leveling up. The greater your vision, the greater the suffering required, because what you're asking for is not small. You're asking to expand, to stretch beyond limits, to live in a space you've never lived before. That requires tearing through the old patterns that held you in place, and tearing always comes with pain. But that pain is temporary, while the growth it creates is permanent. When you start to see suffering this way, everything changes. You stop resenting it and you start respecting it. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, what is this creating in me? Because every time you endure suffering, you are enduring the very process that transforms you. You are walking the path that leads to expansion. You are stepping into the fire that burns away weakness and reveals strength. Growth lives on the other side of suffering. And that truth means suffering isn't something to fear, it's something to embrace. It is not the enemy. It is the evidence that you're becoming more than you were yesterday. Every athlete knows this truth. Every entrepreneur, every leader, every person who has achieved greatness has a story of suffering that preceded their success. Behind every victory was a season of pain. Behind every triumph was a trial. Behind every rise was a fall. They didn't get stronger in spite of suffering. They got stronger because of it. And so will you. The world doesn't reward comfort, it rewards courage. And courage is born in the face of suffering when everything in you wants to quit, but something deeper tells you to keep moving. That is the birthplace of growth, the furnace where the extraordinary is created. So understand this. Suffering is not the end. It is the passage. It is the test. It is the crossing point between where you are and where you want to be. Every time you endure it, every time you choose to stay in it instead of fleeing from it, you move closer to growth. You move closer to the life you were designed to live. Growth lives on the other side of suffering, and once you accept that, you stop fearing the fire and start walking through it, knowing what waits for you on the other side is worth everything you paid to get there. Pain is the price of progress, and that truth has been written into the very fabric of life since the beginning of time. Nothing worth having comes without a cost, and the cost is often discomfort, sacrifice, and moments of struggle that test your limits. Think about the process of becoming stronger physically. You don't gain muscle by staying comfortable. You gain it by putting your body under stress, by lifting heavier, by stretching your capacity until it hurts. That pain is not a signal of weakness. It is the evidence that growth is happening. Without it, there is no progress. There is only stagnation. The same is true in every area of life, career, relationships, business, mindset, and personal evolution. The currency is pain, and if you are unwilling to pay, you are unwilling to grow. The problem is that most people want success, but refuse to pay the price. They want change, but reject discomfort. They want freedom, but won't endure the discipline it takes to build it. They hope for results while hiding from the struggle that produces them. And when pain shows up, they run. They misinterpret it as punishment rather than recognizing it as tuition. Pain is the tuition you pay to level up, the entry fee to the next stage of your life. It is the teacher that strips away illusions and forces you to step into truth. Every setback, every loss, every failure, every rejection is part of that payment. It doesn't come cheaply, but nothing that transforms you ever does. When you look back at the turning points in your life, you'll notice they weren't moments of ease. They weren't times when everything was smooth. They were times when you were pressed, challenged, hurt, and forced to decide whether you were going to keep going or quit. That's when progress was born. Pain is not separate from progress. It is the very process by which it is made. The grind, the sweat, the heartbreak, the rejection, all of it builds resilience, perspective, and strength you cannot buy any other way. You cannot simply wish for progress. You have to earn it, and the price tag reads pain. Think about the mother bringing life into the world. There is no birth without pain. Think about the entrepreneur building something from scratch. There are sleepless nights, losses, betrayals, doubts, and setbacks before there is any breakthrough. Think about the student pursuing mastery. Hours of repetition, failure, correction, and frustration all precede excellence. In every case, the progress people admire is built on a foundation of pain they do not see. Behind every achievement is a mountain of sacrifices, disappointments, and struggles that made the outcome possible. That pain is invisible to most, but it is the necessary cost. It's easy to look at people who are successful and think they got lucky, that somehow they bypassed the suffering you are going through. But if you peel back the curtain, you'll find a different story. You'll find chapters of pain, of seasons where nothing worked, where they questioned themselves, where they lost more than they won. What separated them wasn't avoidance of pain. It was their willingness to endure it. They accepted the price. They understood that the discomfort was not optional but essential. The pain they endured was not a barrier, it was a bridge. And by crossing it, they arrived at the progress you now admire. When you begin to shift your perspective, pain takes on a different meaning. It's no longer something to be feared or hated. It becomes a signal that you are on the right path. It means you are stretching beyond the familiar. It means you are growing into something greater. Pain becomes the compass that points to progress. If you aren't feeling resistance, if you aren't experiencing struggle, chances are you aren't moving forward. You're stuck. Comfort zones are silent prisons, and the way out is through the pain of change. That pain feels like loss, but what you are losing is mediocrity, limitation, and the old version of yourself that can no longer serve the life you desire. Every day you have a choice. You can pay the price of discipline, or you can pay the price of regret. One hurts now, the other hurts forever. Discipline demands effort, sacrifice, and pain in the present, but it produces growth and reward in the future. Regret demands nothing up front, but it extracts everything later, leaving you with a life you didn't want and time you can't get back. Either way, you pay. The question is, are you willing to pay with pain that leads to progress, or will you pay with pain that leaves you stuck? There is no escape from the cost. You simply get to choose which kind of pain will define your life. When you embrace this truth, you stop searching for shortcuts. You stop wasting energy trying to find the easy way because you realize the easy way doesn't exist. The road to progress is paved with struggle, and the ones who are willing to walk it are the ones who earn the transformation. Every sacrifice you make, every tear you shed, every ounce of sweat you pour out becomes an investment in your future self. Pain stops being the enemy and becomes the evidence that you are alive, that you are in motion, that you are on the journey toward becoming more. Progress is the harvest that grows from the seeds of pain, and every season of hardship is planting something you will one day reap. The truth is, the pain you are experiencing right now is not random. It is not pointless. It is shaping you in ways you cannot yet see. It is carving out strength, character, and resilience that will become your advantage later. You may not like it in the moment, but it is necessary. Pain is the sculptor, and progress is the masterpiece. The more you fight it, the longer you delay your growth. But when you surrender to it, when you lean into it with the awareness that this is the cost, you unlock the power to keep going even when it hurts. That mindset is what separates those who rise from those who remain. The same pain is the price of progress, and that is not a curse. It is a gift, because it means that everything you desire is within reach if you are willing to pay for it. It means that no matter how impossible your goals feel, they are possible if you are willing to endure the struggle. It means that greatness is not reserved for the lucky or the chosen, but for those who choose to pay the cost. And once you accept that cost, once you embrace the pain, you step into the freedom of knowing that every ounce of suffering has purpose. Every moment of struggle is moving you forward, and every sacrifice is writing the story of your progress. You can't escape suffering, but you can transform it, and that single realization changes the way you live your life. Pain is not optional in the human experience. No matter who you are, no matter where you come from, no matter how carefully you try to design your life, suffering will find you. It will come through failure, through rejection, through loss, through disappointment, through betrayal, through the quiet moments of doubt that whisper you're not enough. To try to escape suffering is to try to escape being human, and yet most people spend their lives running from it. They hide behind comfort, numb themselves with distraction, and build walls around their hearts to avoid hurt. But suffering cannot be outrun. It only transforms into something darker when you resist it. The choice is not whether or not you will suffer. The choice is whether you will use it or let it use you. When you transform suffering, you take control of the one thing you always have power over, your meaning. You cannot always control what happens to you, but you can control what it means to you. You can decide whether pain is the thing that breaks you or the thing that builds you. Two people can experience the same setback, the same tragedy, the same betrayal, and one will collapse under the weight of it, while the other will rise because of it. The difference is not the event, but the interpretation. Transformation happens the moment you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this creating in me? In that moment, suffering shifts from being punishment to being preparation. Think about the heroes you admire, the people whose lives inspire you. Their stories are never free of suffering. In fact, suffering is the common thread. They didn't escape it, they harnessed it. They took their wounds and turned them into wisdom. They took their pain and turned it into power. They didn't allow life's blows to reduce them. They allowed those blows to refine them. That's the power of transformation. Suffering doesn't get the last word. You do. You get to take the raw material of pain and shape it into strength, resilience, and drive that could not have been born any other way. Most people believe suffering is the end of the road, when in reality it is the beginning of a new one. A broken heart can be the doorway to deeper love. A failure in business can be the spark for innovation. A loss can be the reminder of what truly matters. When you transform suffering, you refuse to let it be wasted. You refuse to let it exist without purpose. Instead, you recycle it into something that fuels you. The very thing you thought would destroy you becomes the thing that defines you in the best way possible. This is why some of the most fulfilled people are not those who had the easiest lives, but those who faced the hardest ones and chose to give meaning to their suffering. Transformation begins with acceptance. You cannot transform what you refuse to face. Denial keeps you trapped, pretending the pain isn't there. Avoidance keeps you weak, running from shadows that follow you anyway. But the moment you face suffering head on, you reclaim your power, you stop being the victim of what happened, and you start becoming the author of what happens next. Facing suffering doesn't mean you enjoy it or that you stop feeling it. It means you no longer allow it to dictate your future. You accept it as a part of your story, and then you choose to decide how the story unfolds. The truth is, suffering holds a mirror to your soul. It shows you who you really are. It reveals your values, your resilience, your courage, and your capacity for growth. Transformation happens when you use that mirror to see not just where you are, but who you can become. The fire of suffering burns away illusions. It strips you of excuses. It forces you to confront yourself in a way comfort never will. And in that confrontation, you discover that you are stronger than you thought, that you can endure more than you imagined, and that you can rise higher than you believed possible. Suffering becomes the crucible in which your true self is revealed. You can't escape suffering, but you can decide whether it makes you bitter or whether it makes you better. Left untransformed, suffering hardens the heart, poisons perspective, and leaves you cynical and defeated. But transformed, it softens you where you need compassion, strengthens you where you need resilience, and sharpens you where you need clarity. It becomes a teacher, a guide, and a source of energy that propels you forward. The same suffering that could have left you broken can instead leave you unshakable, and the only difference is the choice you make in how to respond. Every great achievement in history carries with it a backstory of suffering that was transformed. Leaders endured seasons of doubt and ridicule before they became respected. Inventors faced failure after failure before they discovered breakthroughs. Artists battled rejection and insecurity before the world celebrated their work. The suffering was unavoidable, but the transformation was optional. They chose to transform it. They chose to see their pain as fuel, not as a finish line. That choice is available to you in every moment of your life, no matter how deep the suffering feels. The pain may not leave immediately, but the power to transform it is always in your hands. You can transform suffering by reframing it, but you also transform it through action. When you keep moving, when you refuse to give up, when you use the energy of pain as motivation to take one more step, you turn suffering into momentum. Action channels pain into progress. Sitting in silence and despair allows suffering to grow roots. But movement rips those roots out and plants seeds of resilience in their place. Every time you take action in the middle of suffering, you weaken its grip and strengthen your own. Action turns suffering from an anchor into a springboard. You can't escape suffering, but that is not a curse. It is an invitation. It is life asking you whether you will allow the fire to consume you or whether you will walk through it and come out forged, refined, and transformed. It is a constant reminder that while pain is inevitable, the meaning you give it is optional, and that meaning makes all the difference. You may not have chosen the suffering, but you can always choose who you become because of it. That choice is the most powerful gift you have, and it is the difference between living a life defined by pain and living a life defined by growth, purpose, and strength. Every struggle is preparation, not punishment, but most people don't see it that way. When hardship shows up, the natural instinct is to assume something is wrong, that life is unfair, that the world is working against you. But struggle is not designed to break you down without reason. Struggle is the resistance that builds your capacity. the training ground for your destiny, the necessary weight you must carry so you're strong enough to handle what's coming. When you shift your perspective and stop seeing struggle as punishment, you unlock the ability to endure it with strength, to embrace it with resilience, and to use it as fuel for the journey ahead. Preparation always comes before elevation. Think about it in every context of life. An athlete doesn't just step into the championship and win. They suffer through years of training, of exhaustion, of pushing their bodies beyond limits so that when the moment comes, they are ready. A soldier doesn't step into battle without preparation. They go through drills, through fatigue, through endless tests to harden them for the mission. A student doesn't become a master overnight. They endure repetition, failure, frustration, and long nights of work before the breakthrough comes. The struggle you are facing is no different. It is not evidence that you are cursed. It is evidence that you are being conditioned. What you are going through is not here to destroy you. It is here to prepare you for what you ask for. Too often people beg for growth, success, strength, and freedom. But when struggle shows up, they resist it. They forget that the very thing they prayed for requires struggle to be built. You cannot ask for patience and avoid situations that test your patience. You cannot ask for strength and expect not to face challenges that demand you be strong. You cannot ask for wisdom and expect it without walking through experiences that teach you hard lessons. Every struggle is preparation, and if you see it as punishment, you miss the gift it carries. Life is not working against you. It is working on you, shaping you into the version of yourself capable of carrying the blessing you've been asking for. Think about a tree in a storm. The wind, the pressure, the constant battering. It looks harsh. It looks destructive. But what it is doing is driving the roots deeper. Without the storm, the tree never builds the strength to stand tall. The same is true with you. The struggles you face are not here to uproot you. They are here to root you deeper, to build resilience, to anchor you so that when greater opportunities come, you are not shaken. If life gave you the success you wanted without the struggle, you would not have the capacity to sustain it. It would crush you. The struggle you are in now is training your character, your mindset, and your spirit to hold what you will carry tomorrow. It's easy to confuse preparation with punishment because preparation hurts. Preparation demands sacrifice. Preparation strips away comfort and forces you into places that stretch you. But this pain is not a sign you are being punished. It is proof you are being prepared. A sculptor cannot shape stone without striking it. A diamond cannot form without pressure. Gold cannot be purified without fire. None of these processes are comfortable, but all of them are necessary. Struggle is the fire that refines you, the pressure that shapes you, the chisel that carves you into who you are meant to be. Look back at your own life. The moments that prepared you the most were the moments that challenged you the hardest. The lessons that stuck were not the ones that came from easy times, but the ones that came from struggle. Painful seasons gave you empathy. Failures gave you wisdom. Losses gave you perspective. Setbacks gave you hunger. If you had been spared from the struggle, you would have been robbed of the preparation. Every hard day, every painful trial was a brick laid in the foundation of your future. None of it was wasted. It was building you even when you didn't realize it. Preparation also teaches you gratitude. When you've walked through struggle, you appreciate success in a way that comfort alone could never give you. You value the reward because you know the cost. You protect what you earn because you know the suffering it took to get there. People who never struggle take blessings for granted, but those who struggle deeply never forget the price of progress. They carry humility, resilience, and appreciation that cannot be faked. The struggle humbles you, but it also empowers you. It teaches you to respect the process and to trust the journey, knowing that nothing is wasted when you see it through the lens of preparation. Every struggle you face is also an opportunity to grow stronger than you were yesterday. It conditions your mind to handle pressure, to endure stress, to think clear under fire. Struggle is mental training. It pushes you past excuses, past comfort zones, past the version of yourself that wants to quit. Every time you overcome, you rewire your brain to know that you can. You carry that confidence into the next battle, and that confidence is preparation for even greater challenges. Without the struggle, that strength doesn't exist. You can read about resilience, but until you struggle, you don't own it. Struggle gives you ownership of strength many times. Struggle feels lonely. It feels like punishment because you look around and assume others have it easier. But what you don't see is their preparation. Everyone has a struggle. It just may not look like yours. Comparison blinds you to the truth that what you are facing is tailor-made for your growth. It is equipping you with skills, patience, and endurance that will serve you in ways you cannot yet see. Preparation is personal, and because it is personal, it feels painful. But it is not wasted pain. It is purposeful pain designed to elevate you into the next version of yourself. The question is not whether you will struggle. You will. The question is whether you will see it as punishment or preparation. If you believe you are being punished, you will resist it, resent it, and waste it. If you believe you are being prepared, you will embrace it, endure it, and grow from it. That mindset shift is the difference between staying stuck and rising stronger. Struggle without perspective breaks people, but struggle with perspective builds champions. Your suffering becomes bearable the moment you give it meaning, and the greatest meaning you can give it is this: it is preparing me for more. Every great dream carries with it great struggle. Every vision worth chasing demands a cost. Every next level requires new preparation. The struggles you face today are not random. They are rehearsals for the role you will step into tomorrow. They are equipping you with patience, with persistence, with endurance, with wisdom, with courage. Struggle is the training ground, and every obstacle is a weight designed to make you stronger. If you can see your hardship through that lens, you will stop fearing it and start using it. You will stop resenting it and start respecting it. You will stop asking why life is punishing you and start asking how life is preparing you. And when you understand that every struggle is preparation, you stop running from it and start leaning into it. Knowing that it is building you for everything you've been asking for to grow, you must suffer with purpose, because suffering without purpose feels empty, but suffering with purpose fuels transformation. Pain is inevitable, but meaning is optional, and the meaning you attach to your suffering is what determines whether it becomes the thing that destroys you or the thing that builds you. Everyone experiences hardship, rejection, loss, and struggle, but not everyone uses it. Some people waste their suffering by resenting it, by asking why life is unfair, by assuming it has no value. Others take that same suffering and turn it into fire, into hunger, into discipline that forges them into someone greater than they were before. The difference is not in the suffering itself, but in the purpose behind it. When you suffer with purpose, you see the connection between what you are enduring and what you are becoming. You understand that growth cannot be separated from struggle. That transformation requires tension. That evolution is born from discomfort. It's like climbing a mountain. Your legs burn, your lungs ache, your body screams for you to stop, but every step upward is proof of progress. The suffering makes sense because you know why you are climbing. You know what waits at the summit. Without that purpose, you would quit halfway, convinced the suffering was pointless. With purpose, you endure it because you can see the bigger picture. Purpose turns suffering into fuel. It gives you the will to keep going when quitting feels easier. It gives you strength in moments when you feel weak. It transforms the pain from an obstacle into a teacher, from a punishment into preparation. Think about a student studying late into the night, sacrificing sleep, enduring frustration, and pushing through exhaustion. Without purpose, it feels like torture. With purpose, the vision of graduating, of creating a better life, of becoming who they aspire to be, the suffering becomes a sacrifice worth making. The pain doesn't disappear, but the purpose makes it bearable and even empowering. Suffering with purpose also gives you resilience. When you know why you are enduring something, you can withstand almost anything. History is full of people who endured unimaginable hardships because they had a vision, a purpose greater than their pain. Purpose anchors you in the storm. It keeps you steady when the wind of struggle blows hard against you. Without purpose, you drift aimlessly, tossed around by every difficulty, convinced that suffering means life is against you. With purpose, you see suffering as life working for you, shaping you, equipping you, forging you into someone capable of carrying the weight of your dreams. But here is the key. Purpose does not erase suffering, it redefines it. You still feel the pain, you still face the weight, you still endure the hardship, but instead of breaking you, it builds you. Instead of draining you, it develops you. Purpose gives pain direction. It channels the energy of suffering into growth. Just like lifting weights in the gym hurts, but because you know it is making you stronger, you push through. Life works the same way. The suffering is your weight, your resistance, your training ground, and the purpose behind it is what makes it worth carrying. When you suffer with purpose, you stop asking how to avoid pain and start asking how to use it. You stop resenting the weight on your shoulders and start recognizing it as the very thing sculpting you. You stop running from challenges and start seeking them because you understand they are the only way to grow. Most people live their lives trying to dodge suffering, but the ones who rise, the ones who grow, the ones who transform are the ones who lean into it with purpose. They know that every scar tells a story, every setback carries a lesson, every hardship builds the capacity to handle more. There is a difference between suffering that is destructive and suffering that is constructive. Destructive suffering is when you go through pain without meaning, when you let it define you as broken, when you allow it to convince you that you are powerless. Constructive suffering is when you choose to give it meaning, when you let it refine you, when you allow it to push you to higher levels of discipline, strength, and courage. Both kinds of suffering hurt, but only one kind builds you. The difference is not in the pain, but in the purpose. That's why you must choose to suffer with intention, to attach meaning to every challenge, to see every struggle as a stepping stone. Think about the process of becoming great in any field. Athletes endure brutal training, waking up at dawn, pushing their bodies past exhaustion, living with pain most people would avoid. Artists endure rejection, doubt, endless practice, and moments where nothing they create feels good enough. Entrepreneurs endure sleepless failures, losses, and risks that threaten everything they've built. None of these journeys are comfortable, but all of them are purposeful. That purpose is what allows them to suffer in ways most people never would. The suffering becomes not something they run from, but something they accept because they know it is the price of growth. Purpose also makes suffering sacred. It gives you the ability to look back at painful seasons and see them not as wasted years, but as defining ones. You see the heartbreak that taught you resilience. You see the rejection that gave you hunger. You see the failure that taught you lessons that success never could. You begin to thank the suffering because without it, you would not be who you are. That is the power of suffering with purpose. It transforms pain into gratitude. It turns memories of hardship into markers of growth. It takes what could have broken you and shows you how it built you. When you understand that to grow, you must suffer with purpose. You stop living in denial of pain. You stop pretending that life will always be easy. You stop chasing comfort as if it is the highest goal. Instead, you embrace the reality that growth requires cost, and you decide to pay it willingly because you know what it leads to. You choose to stand in the fire because you know what it forges. You choose to endure the weight because you know what it builds. You choose to face the suffering not as a victim, but as a warrior, fully aware that every step through pain is a step closer to becoming the person you were meant to be. Suffering is inevitable, but suffering with purpose is transformational. It is the difference between being crushed by pain and being created by it. It is the difference between living a life of avoidance and living a life of growth. It is the difference between wasting your suffering and using it as the most powerful tool for transformation you will ever have. To grow, you must suffer with purpose, because purpose is what makes the suffering meaningful, and meaningful suffering is what creates lasting growth.